Hey everyone! In this video I'll be redoing an old Flareon picture I did when I was about 11 years old, so that was 14 years ago now. Just figured it'd be interesting to see how much progress I made in those 14 years. You can kind of see the repainting poking out from behind the old picture. And here's the new sketch I did. The original was I copied off a Dark Flareon Pokemon card. I wanted something different this time around. And here I'm starting off with a liquid mask, some liquid frisket is what it's called. So I actually have a lot of problems with this masking fluid. I can never get it to work right for me. I don't know if it's the masking fluid itself or the watercolor paper I'm using. It could be a combination of both, but I don't know. Eventually I'll have to buy some new watercolor paper and try again. Here I did a mixture of about half and half water and masking fluid. Didn't seem to work very well though, because I ended up still ripping the top of my paper when I took off the latex. Didn't even have it on that long. I think it was only on there for at most a day, but I still ended up ripping the top of the paper. Very frustrating. I think it might be my paper. I think I need a stronger paper. But we'll see. I'll have to test some out. Right now I'm just using Canson. Oh, and here we see the watercolors I'm using. I'm using Dr. P.H. Martin's Radiant Concentrated Watercolors. These are very nice watercolors. Pretty expensive. Here's the yellow I'm using. Anyway, like I was saying, they are pretty expensive. I got these when I went to Dick Blick, and they cost me about a little over $6 a bottle. So yeah, they're not cheap, and you only get about 1 fluid ounce as far as I remember. But they are nice watercolors, pretty high quality. They have very bright, vibrant colors. I originally chose these watercolors to start off with, since I primarily painted with acrylic inks for a couple years, I think about 5 years. And then I wanted to try watercolors, and I was like, hey, these are already liquid and they're pretty similar to the acrylic inks I use, so I figured might as well spend the money and try these out. So far, I quite like them. Even though they are similar to inks, there are some key differences. One being that even when watercolors are dry, they're still water soluble, so if you even get a little bit of water on them, it's going to pull up the paint. With acrylic inks, I didn't have to worry about that because they were water resistant when dry, so if I accidentally splashed some water on them, it wasn't going to be a big deal. But acrylic inks are slightly harder to blend, and they do dry a lot quicker, so I don't know, I think I like watercolors better for backgrounds that I need to blend together and make washes for, but I think when I get to like figures and more detailed work, I might prefer working in inks instead of the watercolors. I don't know, I haven't tried yet. We'll see. Here I'm ripping off some of the latex and some of my paper, unfortunately. Not fun. Oh, now that I look at it, I put some salt on there for some texture. I think that got lost in editing. I could have sworn I recorded that, but I guess not. That's what I needed the big brush for. I needed to brush off some salt that was stuck to the liquid latex masking fluid before I peeled it off. I think after there it goes. After I peeled off that big part, I got really frustrated and stopped recording because I peeled off so much paper with the latex. And here, after I peeled off all the latex, I moved on to a lovely little highlighter. And now I'm adding a wash of water, and then a light wash of that dandelion yellow I showed earlier. Or is it the other yellow I have? I don't remember. I don't remember at all. And here I'm just adding some detail to the little fire spin I have going around Flareon. Just building up some colors, going from yellow to orange, and then I think that's it for the watercolor paint. I think I only use yellow and orange. And then I'll eventually move on to markers. And I think I put a little bit of red in the fire. Not sure what else to say right here. Just adding in little details into the fire. Just chilling until I get to— oh, there's my markers. I was just sitting here waiting for the markers. I wasn't sure when it was coming. There it is. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about when I'm not sure how I feel about doing details with watercolors. I don't know if it's just me and how I just don't really know how to use watercolors right now. I've only been using them, honestly, for not that long. I think this is only the second painting I've used with just watercolors, or primarily with watercolors. So I don't know, just not getting the detail that I want. It's all really blurred together, which I guess is good for having black washes for the background, but not so much with detail, so I ended up having to put some detail in with markers. And now I'm going back to my watercolors because the background color in between the parts of the fire, which is way too bright, so it blended in together and you couldn't really tell the fire was spiraling around. So I darkened that up with some red and a little bit of purple. And I eventually go all the way up. There we go. Going all the way up. Just making sure you can see the fire spinning around Flareon. And after I'm done with this, I'm pretty sure I move on to painting Flareon. Itself? Herself? Hisself? Whatever. There we go. So, just starting off with the orange body. Then I move on to the yellow fur. This is the part where I really started to get frustrated with the watercolor. It just wasn't doing what I wanted. I'm pretty sure it's more to do with me than the actual watercolors themselves. I just wasn't really getting the sharp detail I wanted. It all kind of looked a bit blurred together. Again, I think that's more to do with me than anything else. Eventually I learn how to use watercolor properly. Or I'll just say screw it and just go back to inks. No, we'll see. For our next painting, I plan on combining watercolors and inks. I'll see how that goes for me. So, moving on to the fur. Starting out with my lightest yellow. I don't remember what that one's called. I think it's like sunflower yellow or something. I don't know. And then I layer on some darker yellow and a little bit of orange. Then for the ears, I think I did a bit of red and purple, but then I eventually go over them with some markers to darken it up. Then continuing on with my yellows and some oranges for the fur. Kind of don't really mind the blurry effect I have going on with the fur, since I didn't want it to be too detailed. The only thing I really wanted to be detailed was the face. I think the blurrier, undefined texture in the fur kind of makes it look a little bit like flames, which is what I was going for, so quite like that. When I move on to the markers again, I don't really add that much detail in the fur with them, but I do pretty much cover the face entirely. And that was my phone. And like I said before, I went into the inside of the ears and made them a little darker with markers. And now I'm pretty much covering the face with markers to get the detail I wanted. Just going in there and darkening up the face a little bit because it was a little too white, little too light, not white, and a bit too desaturated for me. So I just went in and added a little bit of highlights and shadows with my markers. Little bit of detailing in the fur, just a bit. Filling in the nose, fixing up the feet. And now I moved on to my little colored fine liners, which I actually usually never use. So it was nice using them for this painting, because they kind of just sit there and collect dust, so I'm just using them to add in, to separate the fur from the background. Doing the same thing with this gel pen here. Just separating the fire and Flareon from each other and from the background. Oh, now I'm trying to figure out what color I'm going to do the eyes. I finally decided on the tealish color. And eventually you'll see that my watercolor for the eyes bleeds into the face, which is pretty bad, and I desperately try to soak it up with a tissue, but it didn't work. Yeah, there we go. I ended up off camera covering up with some acrylic, and then I went over it with some marker to clean it up. Now just adding a few fine details with some color pencils. And some details in the eyes. Now for a final touch, I'm using my acrylic ink, which I was really excited, taking a toothbrush and just splattering on some white ink and some red ink eventually. I'm not sure if I showed that. Yep, I did show that on camera, just a little bit though, real quick. And here it is, it's all done. Nice close-up of the finished Flareon. And here we have it in comparison with my other one. Quite a big difference 14 years makes, huh? Well, I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!